Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conscious Cafe Global. This is our first global cafe of our second season. We had a season of meetings online with fantastic speakers that started when everything changed and we were no longer able to meet physically. All of those 10 beautiful webinars were recorded and they're available on Conscious Cafe's YouTube channel. And this will be recorded today, so you'll be able to, I'm going to just mute everybody. Mute all. Mute all. Yeah, I'm not muted. There we go. I'm going to very briefly tell you what Conscious Cafe is if you've never been to a Conscious Cafe event before. Judy Piatkis was a leading publisher, started it 9 years ago as a place for community, conversation and connection, talking about things that mattered, with the goal of raising consciousness, and it's been a very successful program, and quite a few of us have started groups in our own towns. So I lead a group in Skipton for Yorkshire and Lancashire. We have Oundle, Newbury, New Forest, Canterbury, St Albans, France, Geneva, Singapore, and also Rome. And I think we've got one opening up in Vancouver. So we're spreading, and if you're first time here and you like the idea of that, you can contact us afterwards. We've got 2 more events lined up for September. In fact, I will be on the other side of the screen next week speaking about feng shui and the changes that we'll be making to our homes in the light of everything changing in the world. And we have Malcolm Stern, psychotherapist, at the end of the month. So to begin now, we've got a fantastic presentation today. It's called Boost Your Immune System for Winter. So it's great timing. 7 principles to bulletproof your health. And Jessica has unique credentials for this. She's not coming to us as a doctor. She's coming to us with a workshop that she's created, especially from her research and insights from her own journey. So 13 years ago, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she chose to have, she didn't like the options that were available at the time. So she chose a different route. She worked with an incredible doctor. She's written a book, I believe, launching soon, about that doctor-patient relationship. And I think that's really interesting because everything is changing in the area of health and well-being. It's really brought into focus now. So all these insights, whether cancer is in your life or not, or in any of your family, all of this is going to be really interesting this morning for our immune system for this winter. And she's sharing the 7 secrets of a healthy life. Just to tell you a little bit more about Jessica. She's the author of several books. One of them is called The Topic of Cancer. She's an outstanding speaker and facilitator, and she has been a regular speaker at the Academy of Chief Executives, and they voted her one of the top 3 speakers of the decade, which is absolutely an accolade. She's qualified a clinical hypnotherapist. Since 1985, she has a practice for nearly 30 years at Harley Street. And she says she specializes in personal transformation and corporate leadership development. And she uses a unique and highly effective process called Groundhog Day. That sounds interesting. I looked at the reviews of the book Topic of Cancer, and it was described as a very practical and inspirational user manual for anyone with cancer. And what I loved was somebody called it, because it was so packed with practical advice and concentrated inspiration, they called it literary superfood. So I've had my superfood breakfast this morning, but definitely superfood is something that we need. I'm just going to unmute. Can you unmute yourself, Jessica? And welcome you. I'm here to support you, and we'll all give you, we're not in the room applauding you, but we'll all give you a wave to welcome you for our session this morning. Jessica.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here, and especially those of you who are able to put your cameras on, because it's really lovely to see your faces. It does make a lot of difference. I'll tell you a little bit about me, and thank you for the introduction there. That was excellent. Thank you for inviting me. This is actually a whole morning's packed workshop, and we're doing a taster session on Zoom. So it's a much shorter version of it. And everything I do is very practical and usable. So Most of my time I'm doing retreats for chief executives, changing the Groundhog Day, identifying and resolving self-limiting beliefs. I've been in practice about 36 years now. But yes, 13 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I did a lot of research, chose to take an alternative approach month by month, and it went on for year by years, and I was given a below average chance of surviving beyond 5 years with treatment. So I'm still here, and we're on Zoom and not via a Ouija board, so far so good. I don't advocate that people shouldn't do treatments. I'm just saying what happened to me, what I did and what happened to me. But there are things I learned along the way which were very valuable for supporting the immune system, which is the best defense we have against anything, is to support our own immune system. In the current situation, as ever anyway, we have a responsibility to look after our own personal health. It's not anyone else's responsibility, it's our own. It's only someone else's responsibility to a degree when you're very young and you need looking after, or if you're elderly and are unable to look after yourself in the way that would give you optimum health. The rest of us, it's down to us, and we should take care of that. So the 2 points I went for when I was diagnosed with cancer was to destroy the environment in my body that was supporting cancer, and to do everything that I could to support my immune system. And I'm still here to tell the tale. And what I want to share with you today, when I wrote the book, and it's just for cancer patients, not about treatment, it's just practical stuff for anyone who's got cancer and their friends and families, so that just to be of practical, useful help. And I put it all in 10 chapters so that you can go into any part of it. I developed this health program, this workshop. It took about 10 years in all. I didn't deliberately do it, it just evolved. And I thought, you know what, you can get this down to actually 7 principles that we can begin to implement today with little or no cost in time or money. So that's where I'm coming from. Each of these sessions, like this one, is going to be bespoke to this group, even though they'll be relevant to anybody who's interested in their health. But we're taking into account what you would really like to know about today. And at the end of it, I'm going to round it off with a group hypnosis session and incorporating all the things that we'd really like to be focused on today. Hope that's all right with anyone. If you see Judy or Jean, if you see any questions, can you let me know? Because I can't sort of read them at the same time that I'm speaking here. So if I don't answer your question directly before someone tells me about it, it's not because I'm ignoring it. Well, I am, but not because I want to. I just can't concentrate on that at the same time.
Are you going to get to a point and then you go, question? I won't interrupt you, but do you want to go say any questions now and then I'll have a look?
Yeah, we can have some questions at the end, unless there's something urgent I need to address.
Okay, no, I won't interrupt you with questions, but people can put them there and then we'll direct them when we have a space.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's basically where I'm coming from. So I thought that the first thing we should do is to look at what everyone's interested in, and the way that we're going to go about this, because we've got a lot of people here and we want to make sure that we've got a full list of the interests in the group. We're going to put you into breakout rooms for just 5 minutes and just a list of what prevents you from taking care of your health in the way that you know you could be or you should be, because most of us, we're all grown-ups. There's lots of information out there. We all know quite a lot about health, but we're all quite similar and we don't quite get round to doing what we think we ought to do. So can we have a list of that from each group? And then when we come back into the room after 5 minutes, can we have just one spokesperson who will give us the list from their group? I'm going to make a note of that so that we can address that whole thing at the end, and we can keep this focused on what most people want to know about at this time. Is that all right with everyone? Can you give me a thumbs up if that makes sense? Brilliant. Thanks for that. So can we have 5 minutes?
We've got 5 minutes, and you've got 23 people. So should we do 5
5 groups?
5 groups of 5, or just under? Okay, so I'll just do the breakouts, putting people into groups of 5 and create them. Okay, off we go.
Thank you.
Open all rooms.
Yeah, I won't be coming into the groups, but we'll meet afterwards.
Yep. Okay, everybody's going into their rooms, and I presume recording gets paused. Close all rooms. I'm not going to close them. They're in rooms.
Yeah.
Have I been allocated a room? Move to. Okay, I'm going to put it on pause, the recording. Pause the recording. Recording. Okay. Yep, we're back. Okay, we're all here. Jessica?
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I hope that was really useful. So could we have the spokesperson for group 1, please, with just the list of things that came up? Who's that going to be?
Yeah, that's me.
Hi, Wendy.
Hiya. So what came up was that most of us knew what we should be doing. But the things that were getting in the way were making time and valuing yourself to give yourself that time. The time and space again came up there. Reverting back to bad habits or old patterns of behaviour. And 2 of us said this. We live with a partner that has very unhealthy habits around diet and exercise. So it's almost a struggle all the time to you be doing the right thing at the same time as cooking for and living with somebody who's not interested in it at all.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Who's spokesperson for group 2? Hello, you're on mute, my love. Diane.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I thought I'd gone deaf for a minute.
No, it's me. Okay, so there were only a couple of us actually spoke in the end, but the one person, poor intake, meaning they need better sleep and better food. I can't read my words now, but better intake it came down. But food, exercise and sleep needs to improve.
Yeah.
For me, bad habits, what that lady just said, Wendy, yeah, same thing, bad habit. I know how to do it. Like lots of us, I guess, we know how to do it.
But what prevents you from doing it?
Bad habits. Laziness, stupidity.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really lazy or stupid. But I just, bad habits.
Excellent. Thanks, Diane. What about group 3? Who's the spokesperson for group 3?
Here I am, Jessica, it's me.
Oh, hi, Rena.
Hi there. Okay, so from our group, laziness, not going to bed when you're tired, even though that you should. So it sort of seems a bit easier not to go to bed, even though that you're tired. Mind chatter was another one. So even though we can take supplements and fuel our body in a way that we know is the right thing to do, mind chatter is like a low form of stress, and so that's prevailing. And then consistency and discipline. So really what others have said, we think we know what to do, we're fairly confident that we know what to do, so why aren't we doing it?
Yeah, and
why aren't we being consistent?
Yeah, and that was exactly what the question was, because we all know, but we just don't always get round to doing it, or not for very long. That's fantastic. Thank you. Who's spokesperson for group 4?
That's me, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, morning, lovely to see you. So the question was, what prevents me in taking care of myself? So we had kids and family needing to spend time with them, so that was time management. Habits, bad habits and old patterns of even, maybe having a few extra wines. Overwhelm with the chaos and prioritising, wondering what to do next, and being self-employed and having to upskill and transfer money about, shuffling money, changing plans you know, just like worrying really about what's going to happen, working too hard, irrational thoughts as well, catastrophizing is a good one as well.
Yeah.
And guilt, being guilty.
Excellent. I mean, I don't mean it's excellent to be guilty.
No.
But excellent because we can all relate to it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And who's number 5?
That would be me, Jessica. How are you?
Alison. Thank you.
So we had a dreadful relationship with food.
Yeah.
We had poor self-discipline, good at following something like being gluten-free, but still needing and taking for ourselves a chocolate cheat every day. We had a historic caffeine addiction, which manifests itself in a lack of routine. So following certain good health practices intermittently, but basically lacking consistency. And we had laziness with self-care, giving everything and everyone a priority over that.
Yeah. Which is probably not fair to call it laziness. It's just a habit a lot
I'll
of
take that. That was I'm not lazy.
putting other people first. Well, I know you, and I know that you do that. Lots of people do, particularly women with families. Brilliant. Thanks ever so much for that. So the most important thing, and we're going to use that, I'm going to capture all of that at the end and turn that around. So we flip that on its head and have a nice, powerful hypnosis session at the end for the whole group of us. But even people that aren't here, they can relate to pretty much anything that's on that list there. And I'm quite good, but I can relate to it as well. But I did have to do it with my backside on fire, so that's different. That focuses the mind. So the most important thing, especially during present times, is when we're looking after the immune system, the fastest way to suppress your immune system is to be afraid. And stress is basically fear. And we're bombarded with fearful things at the moment. Everything is about fear. And especially when we're finding ourselves isolated or not having our usual routines, everything becomes more fearful. The unknown is fearful. We're hardwired to like a bit of routine, because usually I think in our primitive state, anything that was outside of what we were used to was usually bad news. And that's pretty much the case at the moment. So one thing to remember about fear is that anything that is fearful, and that means worry and stress and imagination and catastrophizing about everything, the only thing to remember about that is none of it is true. It's what we are imagining. And I know we've all got things to take care of at the moment, but as we're sitting here now, we're all alive, we're all reasonably well. So it's okay. But we will catastrophize about stuff. What if this happens? What am I going to do if that happens? What if that's happened now? How is that going to pan out? What's next week going to be like? That is all catastrophizing. It's worry, it's anxiety. And I don't blame you for that, but it's also not true. None of it is true. So what we're going to do is just have a quick look. We're going to share the screen now, if that's okay. Fill in this stress test so we can have a look at where you're starting off from today. As far as we call it stress, I would say your fear levels from today. And what I would say, you're going to have just a couple of minutes to do this. Answer it as quickly as possible. There's the scores at the top. So you score it. If never applies, you put a score of 1, rarely 2, occasionally 3, very often 4, and almost always you score it 5. So just quickly go through that. We'll say, just give 4 minutes for this.
need some information you probably remember. If I dial somebody and I don't want them to know.
When you've filled it in, can you quickly add up your total, please?
Gina, I think we can see your screen with the questionnaire.
Hey, Gina, we're adding your total up.
No, it's mystery figures. I'm not doing anything and the figures are appearing. I don't know. I move it, the screen.
How interesting.
Look, you see, they've gone and then they come back again. So I don't know how that is.
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. So
Can I just ask that you know everybody who's on this call? Everybody's been allowed in?
Yes, everyone's been allowed in, yeah.
And you know who everyone is?
Well, I think
Judy has a list. Are you asking if it's a safe space?
Just that we had an incident of the group meeting recently where somebody Zoom bombed us. That's all. Somebody got in and we didn't know. And they took over our screen and started.
Even with a
putting
password?
stuff. Yeah, even with a password. But that's why I'm asking, because obviously not everyone is visible. But
yeah, we've got the names, but that's a good question.
Only because it happened very recently. That's the only reason I ask.
no, well pointed out, and I know you're from a legal background as well, so you'd be quite clued up on how to look for things. Well, this is the only screen share we're doing anyway, so it's not going to make much difference. So we're seeing somebody filling in a form. But
I don't know how you can fill a form when you're looking at my screen share.
No,
so we now had our good 4 minutes now, 5 minutes. So shall I take that screen down?
Yeah, please.
So stop share and we'll see what happens with those numbers. Bizarre. Okay, you're back.
And has everyone, can you just give me a thumbs up? Has everyone added their total up? Excellent. So we'll just have a look at where we are now. Those of you, can you put your hand up if you don't mind, if you've got 0 to 35? Well, that's pretty good. That's new stress. That's quite all right. No problem at all. 35 to 45. Right, you're getting in the stress and the stretch and the strain area there. So we've been put under a bit of pressure, which is hardly surprising. Anybody 45 plus? Yeah, I'm not surprised at the moment, and that's getting into the trouble area, but don't worry about it. We're going to sort it out today. And before we go any further as well, there's a free relaxation MP3 download on my website that you can access anyway. We're going to do that relaxation at the end of this, but you can access that from my website, jessicarichards.co.uk.
Great. And we can also send a link to it if you want, and afterwards in an email, if you, whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. So now we're going to get into the 7 principles. I did a little study of the blue zones. There happened to be 7 of them. So the number 7 kept coming up. And I thought, well, that's quite a good number then, really, isn't it? And there are 7 blue zones on the planet that we know of so far. And those blue zones are areas, in case you haven't heard of them, they're areas where people tend to live to a much older age, but they're very fit and well. So they stay well for longer. So basically their health span is becoming equal to their lifespan. So this is what this is all about. It's not about length of life. It's about keeping our health so that we stay healthy for as long as we're alive. Because a longer life without the health, as we all know, we've all seen, is not a pleasant place to be. Very briefly, I went through all of those and I saw there are different parts of the world and the commonalities between them, even though they're in completely different parts of the world, were very similar to the principles that I actually integrated into my own life over the longer term. So away from dealing with the crisis of cancer and just maintaining a healthy, more balanced life, which doesn't mean I'm an angel and that I don't have my moments, but it certainly made sense to me, and that's why I've captured it in the 7 principles. Now, the areas of the blue zones, in case you don't know, we've got the Italian island of Sardinia, we've got Okinawa in Japan, we've got Loma Linda in California, we've got Costa Rica's Nicoya Peninsula, and Icaria, it's an isolated Greek island, which you probably have to go into quarantine from if you go to at the moment. I don't know, I haven't checked it out. Just another one of life's little absurdities. So I looked at the areas in there, so food, exercise, sleep, stress, etc., and how they organize these things. The biggest subject on that is actually food. What was common in all of these areas and what they all did and what I've actually been doing that made the difference with food. If you get your food right, you've got the bulk of it taken care of, but you still have to really take care of the fear and the stress, which we're going to take care of today as well. I'll certainly give you the means to do it. What I will say about these principles as well, don't try to implement everything today. It will just stress you out and you'll get overwhelmed. I always look at it, these subjects, these huge subjects, is like eating an elephant. Don't worry about the whole thing. You just take one bite at a time. And after a period of time, the elephant's eaten, it just becomes part of your normal way of living. So there's a lot of this stuff I don't actually have to think about anymore. It's just something that I do purely by habit. So if at the end of today, you take just 3 of these principles and you implement them just one day a week, that's all. so that you get used to that, and you will find things that you find very easy, so you can do more often, and other things that take a bit longer to implement. But don't overwhelm yourself with trying to put everything in at once, because that never works, and we can't maintain it in that way. So the things that I found out with the food that was very common to everyone is that people that live in the blue zones don't eat processed food. That's the biggest no-no. You find it, as we all know, in areas of the world where people eat processed food, you get a lot of ill health and obesity. Basically, they say if it comes from a plant, then it's worth eating. If it's made in a plant, it probably isn't. So it's a good guideline I found to looking at that. They also have the habit is that they eat little until they're no longer hungry. They don't eat until they're full. And if you think about it, we're not actually designed to eat even every single day, let alone several times a day. Animals in the wild are not designed like that. We're not designed like that. Meat is also not off the menu, because when these people eat meat, they eat it as more of a treat. They have a plate full of vegetables and they have a bit of meat on them, whereas we seem to do it the other way around. The meat is the star of the show, and there's a little bit of greenery around the edges in most places when you eat out. The meat they're eating as well is usually their own hand-reared meat that's been fed on grass and has been running free, so it's quite different to some of the stuff that we get mass-produced. So the other thing, they eat a lot of fruit and a lot of vegetables. I personally don't think we have to be vegan or anything like that. I'm mainly a vegetarian, but it's because it suits my body. It doesn't suit everybody, and that's been the case for me for about 50 years now. But eat what's right for you, but try to eat things that are fresh and things that are not processed. And if you want to eat meat, there's nothing wrong with that, but eat meat that's quality meat. Eat fish that's quality meat. If you're going to eat fish, try to eat fish, more deep sea fish or organic fish, rather than farmed fish, because they're less healthy. And I know when the government says don't eat salmon if you're pregnant, farmed salmon, or don't eat it more than twice a week, you think, well, maybe it's a good idea not to eat it. I personally can't eat it at all. So the other stuff, when it comes to food, they also don't sit there watching TV all night and then eating food till it's very late at night. There's a lot to be said about fasting. Now, as well as eating the green vegetables and things, the green vegetables and the fruits, they actually create bacteria that your gut actually needs, the flora that your gut actually needs. So you don't really, they don't have to go out and take tablets and things like that, but because they're already getting it from their food. They also have periods. If you look at any kind of culture in the world, any kind of religion, there's always fasting that's involved in it somewhere along the line. Well, fasting for humans and for animals is a way that our immune system naturally reboots itself. There's a lot of research, if you go onto PubMed, you can easily access it, of fasting when it comes to cancer, and that people who are doing conventional treatment, it can make their treatment more effective and less damaging if the patients fast before they go into the hospital. Now, the thing about fasting, rumbling hunger itself, and it doesn't mean you're starving yourself, but rumbling hunger actually initiates will actually cancel out the overgrowth of toxic bacteria in your digestive system. So it's necessary. Most people these days eat so often that they don't actually ever get hungry, because they don't stop eating long enough to get hungry. Now, there is a piece of research of a group of breast cancer patients, 2,400, if I remember correctly from memory. You can find all of this on PubMed. 2,400 over 5 years doing just a 13-hour overnight fast, which is a really easy thing to do because you're asleep for a lot of it, to see if it affected the death rate over a period of 5 years, the mortality rate. They found over 5 years, it's reduced the mortality rate by 36%. Now, not all of that will be because of the fasting, because some of it will be because some of those people had healthier diets anyway, or they were sleeping better, etc., etc. But it was still too significant to ignore that single fact. 36% is a very significant reduction in mortality rate. Over 7 years, it reduced mortality rate, I think, by 23%. What it does when you fast, say, for me, I stop eating after about 7 o'clock in the evening, wherever it's possible. Can't do it every single day because sometimes I'm traveling and working. But generally speaking, by about 7 o'clock in the evening. And when you do that, you metabolize your blood sugar. Because what they found out with cancer, with everything else, that the blood sugar, the sugar in your blood and the sugar that we eat, especially refined sugar, causes a lot of inflammation. Also, cancer cells use that for their fuel, so that can be very damaging in itself. So when you stop eating earlier at night, it doesn't mean you have to stop drinking, but drink water or herbal teas or things that don't have calories in them, and you will automatically start to sleep better and rebalance your blood sugar levels. When people are busy with that kind of stuff, there's a very simple way of doing it. Have your bigger meal earlier in the day and very little later on in the day. When I'm at home and I'm working from home, I usually eat just once a day. This is what suits me, and that's usually about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no set rules to it. That just happens to be the way that I function best. So the other thing that they do with food is that they tend to eat communally that part of the day as well, because that makes a big difference to digestion and everything else when you're eating with people that you care about and with who you love, or people that you work with. So they're more like family, and people that work together are often more like a family. There are basic things. So if you want to look into, well, maybe I should eat more vegetables, you can easily add that into your diet today, and you can easily add more fruit into your diet. You can easily carry that around. If you want to look more into a plant-based diet, don't just dive into it immediately, because that can be a bit overwhelming, but try it 1 day a week, just 1 day a week, have a plant-based meal. Now, I've heard of people who've been to these sessions and have done that, and people that are real, meat eaters and everything else, and they said, you know what, that was so easy. We never realized how nice vegetables are. So we started doing it like 5 days a week, and we've lost loads of weight. That's a byproduct. This is not about weight loss, but you will find you become healthier and your weight will find its normal balance just from eating more healthfully. Also, when it comes to the overnight fast, don't try and do that straight away. Oh, I've got to stop eating at 7 o'clock every single night. Just pick 1 night a week. And if you don't keep regular times, you don't even have to pick the same night every week. Just pick a night per week when you're going to go for that 13-hour fast. I personally do a lot more than that. And there are some schools of thought that say an 18-hour fast, but just start off with what works for you and just do it once a week until that becomes natural for you to do that, and add to it as you see fit. So the other things as well is when you actually eat in that way, that you eat until you're no longer hungry rather than until you're full, it has a lot of other benefits to it. So it reduces your inflammation, especially as you're eating more fruit and vegetables as well. It slows down oxidation, activates latent protective genes, because that's the thing with epigenetics. When they say, like before, it's a genetic thing, if that's in your genes, you've got no chance. It's not true at all. With epigenetics have found the fact that no matter what you have in your DNA, genes are only switched on by your behavior and by your environment. In something like 98% of cases, if you're genetically predisposed towards anything, that doesn't mean that's going to happen to you. They've proved it by putting in fact, look up Bruce Lipton, putting stem cells in Petri dishes, stem cells from the same source in 3 different Petri dishes, and they become 3 different tissues, bone, fat, and I think it was muscle tissue. So it's entirely down to the environment. We're not the victim of our genes. Virtually most cancers, most heart disease, type 2 diabetes are completely lifestyle related. They're not down to genes. You may be predisposed to some things, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen to you if you look at your own environment and your lifestyle. So when we go on from there, there are other things that are involved with eating according to our needs, rather than being overfull and eating several times a day and eating processed foods. We automatically have higher levels of cognitive abilities. And that also incorporates a lot of degenerative mental illness, mental diseases such as Alzheimer's. That's also lifestyle related and environmentally related. There's little doubt with that. You can look it up on PubMed and do your own research on it. Everything I've got here is what I've already researched. And even little things, little tips like this, that nuts 5 times a week can add 2.5 years to your life. If men drink 5 to 6 glasses of water a day, it can reduce the risk of a fatal heart attack by 60 to 70%. 2 servings of fruit a day can reduce lung cancers by 70%. Peas and beans 3 times a week can have a 30 to 40% reduction in colon cancer. There's loads of research out there. It's not for nothing. So if you really eat lots and lots of fruit and vegetables, and particularly vegetables, you're really going to up your chances of having a much stronger immune system. That's all we may have time for with food at the moment and the fasting side of it. But then there's the exercise side. And so again, with the food side, just add things in as you can. You can add an extra portion of veg to your plate. You can add, a couple of extra pieces of fruit. I personally don't go along with smoothies that are just all fruit based, because that's just dumping a load of sugar into your system, which is not a healthy way of going about it. With the exercise, believe it or not, big surprise, they don't have any gyms in these blue zones. Their general exercise is, and what seems to be the most effective, they do a lot of walking because they've got animals, they've got plants and things they're growing, and they don't tend to have a lot of transport or use a lot of transport. So they walk everywhere. They walk most places, they do a lot of walking. So it's a constant low level of exercise. Also, even elderly people, they don't tend to be sitting around too much, but they're still sitting on floors cross-legged, and they get up off that floor. And they do that several times a day. And that's a really important thing. So if you want to add some low-level exercise into your life, you don't have to do exercise and now I've got to start running every day, or I've got to go to the gym every day. If you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. But you can, when you have meetings, if they're phone meetings or face-to-face meetings, there's no reason why you can't walk and talk. You often get a better quality of meeting, as you know, when you've done that. When you've been out for walks with people, especially in lockdown, you have much better, more in-depth conversations. So you can add walking into several areas of your life. And even if you do it once a week to start with, just put that into your schedule. you can find time for that, because you're going to be on the phone talking to people anyway. So walk around whilst you're doing it. The one fact I found out, which I thought was pretty shocking, and it surprised me, is that apparently the most reliable measure and indicator of an early death is weakness in the legs. And you think, well, how on earth can that sort of affect your length of life? But actually, when you think about it, when people allow their legs to get weak, and this is not an age thing, we've begun to accept over a period of time, oh, this, you get diabetic when you're old, you get overweight and obese when you get older, oh, you get weak legs when you get older. Well, you don't. It's lifestyle that allows all that to happen. And when people have weak legs, or their legs get weak, they start to have falls. And when someone has a fall, then they tend to be less active. They also lose confidence, so they don't go out as often. And I think we've all known, and I've certainly known, people that have had falls, and they tend to go down in stages. They lose a bit of confidence, and then once they've had a fall, it seems to be a downward sort of slope from there. And they also socialize less, because when you have less confidence, because you're worried about going out in case you fall over because you're not very steady, it's the same thing. So it's a downward spiral. So my number one focus in any exercise I do, apart from the cardiovascular stuff, keeping my lungs working, is, and keep body oxygenated. And you can do that with deep breathing as well. A good exercise for that is, there's a lot of yoga deep breathing, but I also like the Wim Hof, the Iceman breathing techniques. They are brilliant. They're awesome because they're quite extreme, but they really get you oxygenated. And when it comes to sitting there watching your TV, because I've decided, keep my lungs strong, keep my legs strong. Whatever happens, keep your legs strong, keep on your feet, no matter what happens. You can even do exercises sitting in a chair. You know, if you've had an accident or you are a little bit disabled, you can do exercises in your chair. There's loads of things you can do. It's all free on the internet. You've just got to look for stuff. And when you're sitting there in the evening and you're exhausted and you think, I'm just going to watch, you know, an hour of TV before I switch off for the evening, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just one day a week, just one, just sit on a cushion on the floor and get up and down and change your channels on your TV, instead of just sitting there in the sofa doing that on there and expecting it all to happen for itself. They're all extra ways that you can get your legs moving without you having to do anything extra for it. So you only have to do that just one day a week. So the basics of food, I'll just recap: no processed food, overnight fast, more fruit and vegetables, and definitely no refined sugars, or as little as possible. I personally don't bother at all with refined sugar. With exercise, low level exercise, but anything else that you really enjoy doing. When it comes to sleep, and I know there's a lot of research about sleep and there's a lot of myths about it as well. People in the blue zones, and I've also found this as well, is that we find our natural level of sleep. And it used to be popular for science to say, oh, well, it doesn't matter how much sleep you have. You know, if you only have 2 hours a night, that's fine. Some people function on that. And that to me is completely irrational. If we don't think sleep is important, then why is it that human beings and animals are completely vulnerable for about 1/3 of our lives? Completely vulnerable. Well, why would that be so? Why would that be biologically the case if sleep didn't matter? or if it wasn't that important. It's fundamentally important just by that observation alone, without having to do any research about it. The simple observation of that, it's fundamentally important. So 7 or 8 hours a night for most people is what's required of quality sleep. That's what tends to happen in blue zones. They're outside every day. And the other things you get from being outside is vitamin D3. What you may not know about vitamin D3, you probably need to supplement it in the winter. That's why a lot of people who had darker skins were more likely to get the flu and get a bad experience with it, because we absorb less D3. We're not getting enough of it. Normally we're designed, darker skinned people are designed for sunnier climes. Well, in our climate, we're almost certainly going to be deficient in that. In the winter, you almost certainly need to supplement with it, and your optimum levels is way over what the government guidelines are for being normal. If you go on to Cancer Active, or if you go on to Philip Day's site, and you will find on there how to check your D3 levels. The other thing about D3 is that you get it on your skin. The most optimum way of getting it is from the sun. The rule of thumb with that is if you go outside for 15 minutes, depending on your skin sensitivity, and obviously don't do it if you've had skin cancer, to go outside for 15 minutes at a time of day when your shadow is shorter than you are, and expose as much skin as possible. Obviously you can go longer. I can go for an awful lot longer than that. The other thing is it takes up to 2 days for that to appear on your blood serum levels. So D3 can be washed off. So most people, they lay on the beach all day, have a shower and wash it all back off again. Animals are a bit wiser than that. They lay in the sun and then they lick their fur and they get their D3 that way. So as a human being, if you want a maximum benefit from your D3, when you shower, use soap in the obvious places, but not on the bulk of the surface of your skin, so that you don't wash it off. Obviously your skin gets wet, but don't wash it off with soap. If you want 2 good books, I would recommend as well for recipes for a healthy diet that have researched. Mainly they're based on the Mediterranean diet. There's Chris Woolham's The Rainbow Diet. Everything's researched in there. It's a very easy book to follow. Very useful recipes. And Philip Day is Food for Thought. Loads of easy to do recipes in there. And for those of you that have people that don't eat so healthfully, there's loads of recipes in there that will be absolutely useful for them as well. They wouldn't even know that they're eating healthfully. But at the end of the day, if someone's not eating healthfully and insists on that, that doesn't mean that you can't have your extra vegetables with your meals. At the end of the day, people are grown-ups. And if they insist or want to eat in a certain way and have that lifestyle, that's fine. But you still have to be responsible for yourself. And just add those extra vegetables and fruit into your own diet. There's another little tip here as well that will be very useful, is that we find that there's a certain bacteria in the mouth, because that's the other thing I would say. Keep your legs strong and keep your own teeth, because if you keep your own teeth as you get older as near as possible, that means you can carry on having a healthy diet. Lots of raw fruit and veg if you can, but there's nothing wrong with cooked fruit and veg as well if that's how you prefer it. But keep your own teeth, because then you still get the choice to eat what you want to eat rather than eating only what you're able to eat. And the other thing is, when you keep your mouth healthy, you prevent Heliobacter, which is a bacteria. And it can cause heart disease and it can cause stomach ulcers, but it also causes a lot of other things. It's quite toxic to the system. So what I do for that, and is a very simple method to keep your gums healthy, is a process called oil pulling. Now, I tend to use coconut oil, and you can use any oil, but I use coconut oil because I've got it in the house anyway. I have a tub in the bathroom and I have a tub in the kitchen because I use it in the kitchen for cooking. It's the only oil that doesn't degrade at high temperatures, so it doesn't become toxic. Also, if you like to bake with it and stuff like that, it bakes just like lard does, so things go crispy and lovely, but you won't be using lard. You can use coconut oil, and you can get coconut oils that don't have the flavour as well, so it doesn't all taste of coconut. Makes brilliant oven chips. I can vouch for that myself. And I also use it in not only in all cooking. I just made some little pasties that I had to travel with because I was at a venue yesterday and some of it was self-catering because of the situation that we're in, and we were doing a retreat, and I made pastry with emmer wheat and with coconut oil and water. Makes a brilliant pastry, just like the other pastries. It's malleable and it handles just the same, so you can use it in things like that as well. Now, with the oil pulling, it basically, you hold an oil in your mouth for up to 20 minutes, but as long as you can, and swish it around your mouth. Don't swallow it. You should start off 3 times a day, but I would say just try it 1 day a week, that's all. So when I stick oil in my mouth in the morning, I'll just get in the shower whilst it's in my mouth or whatever. If you're using coconut oil, when you're finished with it, spit it in the bin and not down the sink because it does go solid when it gets cold. And coconut oil is actually an antibacterial, it's an antiviral, it's also a natural sunscreen. So I actually use that for makeup remover, moisturizer, sunscreen, use it on my hair, everything. So it's a very easy thing, although it was a real bummer one time when I travelled with my tub of coconut oil and it got confiscated. So I was left with nothing. So I hope that's all making sense to everyone. I'm sorry that I'm rushing through it because I'm trying to give everything I can in a short period of time. If that's all right, can you stick your thumbs up or let Gina know if you need to know anything separately? Thank you. That's really helpful. So I'm just keeping an eye on the time here as well. So oil pulling, really useful, really necessary. Do it just once a day if you can. It keeps your gums in brilliant health. It doesn't matter if you do it before or after you clean your teeth. It really doesn't matter. The other thing about fruit as well, that can really have an effect on the enamel on your teeth. So if you, I never touch fruit juice because that's too acidic on your teeth, and it's too high in sugar. It's concentrated sugar. But if I eat fruit, leave it, wash your mouth out with water, rinse it out about 4 or 5 times with water after you've eaten fruit, and don't scrub your teeth for about an hour. I think most dentists will tell you that as well, because it softens the enamel on your teeth and you don't want to start scrubbing that away, especially as you get older. You know, your teeth get a bit longer. They really do as well. I thought, I wasn't looking forward to that with teeth my size. Just call me Red Rum. So the other thing as well, all of this will help to keep down inflammation. Inflammation is the basis of all these other diseases that we have. I haven't got time to go into the ins and outs of inflammation now, but I would really like to, because there's a real logic to it and how that creates and enables disease to take hold in your body. But if you keep on top of the inflammation with a healthy lifestyle and reasonable exercise and activity, it's more important that you do low-level exercise often than doing really good hard workouts, you know, like a maniac once a week. That's really not the point. The other thing is stress, and I call that fears. I call it for what it is. It's fears. And there are loads of ways to deal with stress. One of my measures of that, because I had a really healthy sort of life, you know, and I was a really positive person, but I did have a constant low level of stress for the sort of work I was doing. And I know we've got some legal people here as well, and I know the stress levels that they go through on a daily basis, and we all do, you know, and especially now We've got these extra layers of stress going on, people trying to get their workforce back, and they're trying to keep an eye on all of the rules and regulations and make sure everybody's safe on top of everything else to keep their businesses going. And one of the things you can do, obviously, is the breathing techniques. There's also the free MP3 downloads. There's also the social aspect of it. You know, connect with your friends, have a bit of a laugh, catch up even on Zoom. I mean, I've got friends around the world, you know, and sometimes I'll spend an evening with, you know, a few people on Zoom, and we eat together and have a laugh and all the rest of it, because I live on my own. So I'm certainly not going to be in lockdown on my own like I'm solitary confinement. I mean, why should I? So stress levels, it's absolutely critical. And I have a measurement for me that when I look at things, I ask myself, do I actually need to be there? Do I actually need to be on that Zoom? Do I actually need to be at that meeting, or need to be at that gathering, whatever it is? Do I need it? And if the answer to that is no, do I really, really want to do it? And I mean really want to do it. I'm not doing it just because I'm expected to be there, or I know I should, and all the rest of it. Do I really want to do it? And if it doesn't tick both those boxes, I ain't doing it. It's as simple as that. That cut out an enormous amount of stress. And also with staying around more negative, more positive, friendly people as well, because sometimes people can be very draining. And you can't always avoid them because, you know, you're related to them or you're married to them. So you can't help that, but you can spend more time with more positive people and more peaceful people. There are some people that I don't really have much association with anymore because the stress levels go up and it's the same old negativity. And I'm not responsible for that. You know, we have to be responsible for our own state of mind. And when it comes to finding time to look after our own health, we have a responsibility to do that. We should feel guilty if we don't put ourselves first. Because when we're fit and healthy, so when we went into lockdown, I was able to be a volunteer because I look after myself, so I was much more useful to other people because I could get out and about and do things that other people weren't able to do for themselves. So we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves, so that should we need to take care of other people, we're in a position to be able to do that. And we're also not going to be passing on things to other people. So keep yourself healthy. One thing, your immune system gets a little bit challenged as you get older, but you can still take care of that. You don't become a living deadie unless you choose that with your lifestyle.
Mm.
And I'm
just people might, there's a couple of questions people might want to ask questions. Might this be a good time, or have you got more things you want to share before you go into our end hypnosis?
Right, there's one couple more.
Go back to your notes, but just flagging up.
I would like those questions if that's all right. The other things that help with stress and to keep us alive, because it's my feeling what we're going to be seeing a lot of in the near future, and has been happening a lot during this period of the world being topsy-turvy. There's a huge increase in, very sadly, in suicides. And there's going to be a lot more of those as time goes on, because things are not getting better for a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of jobs lost, homes lost, and things like that going on, which are not because people are dying from a flu, but they're actually losing the will. They've lost their purpose in life. So one of the key things in life is we have to have a purpose. All of us have to have a purpose. And those in the blue zones, they have a purpose. They have strong family ties. And if you haven't got actual family to have strong family ties with, you have your extended family. We're like a little family here today. But you build up, and I've actually built up real networks on Zoom that I have quite close ties with now, but I do visit my actual family a lot more and spend time with them as well. And it gives a purpose. So my purpose is to share as much practical information as possible, but also to teach people how to keep themselves well, and also to try to do what I can to make this world even better for younger people. You know, I'm in my mid-60s now. Whatever happens, I haven't got much skin in the game. You know, I'm not going to be around to live with it for that long, but a lot of people will be. So it's my purpose to make it the world as good a place as possible for them, with as many opportunities as possible for them, and for them to be as looked after as well as possible. So I have a purpose in that way. So it's absolutely an important thing, and spirituality, whatever your spirituality is, can be a huge part of that. So before we do the final part of this, and I'm sorry it's been so rushed, there's just so much information here. Could we have a couple of the questions, please, Gina?
Jessica, you've probably spoken at half the speed of a conference I was at the other day, so it's all been great, and people have been writing, and they can watch it again because it is rich in data. It's fantastic. Judy flagged up about the quality of fresh fruit and vegetable available to us in this country, where most of us are now, and she didn't ask about organic, but maybe you've got a comment about sourcing, you know, the qualities of fruit and vegetables.
Yeah. I tend, and I'm very practical about this, I tend to eat what's local and fresh, and I tend to eat my own weight in it. So at the moment, I'm eating my own weight in plums, because I do love plums though. Plums and pomegranates are my thing, my favourite fruits. But English plums, in season, there's nothing like it. Anything that's local and in season, if you can. And I asked the lady once, she used to be the nutritionist at the Penny Bron Cancer Centre, and I had a burning question. I said, what do you think is better, organic that's not so fresh, or fresh food and fruit and veg that's not organic? And she said the fresh she would prioritise. So just get the best you can with what you can afford, and eat as much of it as you can. I mean, you can eat piles and piles of vegetables. So that will be the advice on that. If you can, do the best that you can, but don't beat yourself up over things. Some things don't need to be organic. Avocados, for instance, don't need to be organic. Asparagus, when it's in season, doesn't need to be organic, because it's not.
When something's grown in the ground, like a carrot, it's had less spraying than a lettuce leaf, which has been sprayed over the leaves. I would think, you know, there's different grades of that, isn't there? And can I just ask about quantity of fruit, because you talked about eating your weight in plums, and what about all that fruit sugar? You know.
Well, yes, but you're also eating the fibre with it. You're eating the whole fruit. So I've never known anybody that's been hospitalised because they ate too much fruit or they ate too much vegetables. So you have to use a bit of common sense with that.
Eating fruit on an empty stomach is better than eating it after a meal?
Well, yeah, fruit can ferment with food. If you've already eaten a meal and eat fruit on top, it can ferment with it. So I tend to eat fruit before a meal, or I just eat fruit on its own. So even if I have my usual one meal a day, that doesn't mean I haven't loaded up on like half a dozen plums already this morning.
Snack on that. I'm asking that because it's fruit season. I'm in my kitchen, which I'm not going to show. There's 100 apples here that I've foraged from all the trees in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Scoff it, freeze it.
Slicing it, drying it.
As well. Yeah, just eat it in anything.
Fantastic. Somebody talked about having a faster metabolism. This is the thing about eating in the evening, because I also have a late lunch, early dinner. I try and have my breakfast as late in the morning as possible to try and have that shorter time of eating. And somebody pointed out about, Daniel said about faster metabolism. What about eating a snack later in the evening if they're saying they have a faster metabolism?
That keeps your blood sugar up. And I've actually had a look at the research about this, because I'm a sort of quite a skinny person, those of you who know me, and they even did a television documentary on it about people that could seem to eat what they want, and others that would eat the same sort of stuff and they would get fat, but these people didn't. They got a faster metabolism, and at the end of the day the metabolism wasn't any different to anybody else's. It was actually the lifestyle. So that yes, someone might eat cheese on toast and stuff like that and not put on any weight, but on the other hand they weren't eating as often as other people, they weren't eating the amount of it, and they were a lot more physically active with it. So it's, in my experience, and I can't say for sure on this, that the metabolism isn't a thing, but if you get hungry in the evening, eat more earlier, then you don't get hungry in the evening. And at the end of the day, a little bit of peckishness is a good thing. It's not the end of the world. That's what enables your body to deal with an overgrowth of bacteria that you really don't need. The other thing as well, we're told to eat all these prebiotics, probiotics. A lot of them come from decay. Now, there is a school of thought, if you eat bacteria from decay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That the bacteria that we need in our gut actually comes from the ileum. Now, the ileum is best populated, and this is a school of thought, and I've looked into the research on this, but it makes total sense, is better populated by live yeasts that are above the ground. So the must on leaves that have not been sprayed chemically, the must on fruits and grapes and things that are not chemically sprayed, that's the natural yeast that will repopulate your ileum, which in turn populates your gut bacteria, which is what you need.
Better than the jars of white yogurt. What's it called? Probiotic yogurt. It has a name.
Yeah, I'm not against that or anything like that, but some of us don't do dairy and stuff like that. So you
can get kefir made from coconut, can't you?
You get all kinds of variations of it. I'm just trying to keep to the very basics here, but it takes a long time as well to get your gut right. It's not something, oh, I'm going to do a quick 7-day detox, spend a fortune on it and think, oh, your gut's all going to be healed.
Yeah. Somebody's asking about kimchi. Is that good as a natural gut bacteria?
That's used in a lot of places. You will find in virtually all cultures, they use some form of bacteria like that. All cultures do it. There's sauerkraut, there's kimchi, there's all kinds of stuff that we've fermented over the years by way of preservation.
And they have it with kind of every meal, don't they? You mentioned about Sardinia, where I now have extended family, and you know, they eat late. So is that a Sardinian thing, or is just the people I know?
They do in places. I personally don't eat late, but you know, it is a cultural thing. But generally speaking, if you have a long period of time without eating, you're going to have a lower blood sugar. And it also depends what they're eating late as well. The Europeans and the Westerners, when we tend to eat late, it's a nice big meal with God knows what in it. It could be takeaways, could be anything. Then it's followed by a dessert and sweets and all the rest of it. It's what you're eating as well as when you're eating that makes a huge difference to it. Okay. I pay extra attention to it because, you know, I've been hit with the big C. So I'm not going to take the chances other people may take, but you must adjust things to suit yourself. There's no one size fits all. There are general principles that work for everyone, but adjust it for yourself. Now we've got a few minutes left to do.
Well, what you've done, Jessica, is you point out quite a few good books and good resources. So if people are coming to this as a new conversation, there's your book. You know, there's a lot of resources, and I think start the journey and emphasizing, you know, 1 day a week, one meal, a bit at a time, and just point the compass in a new direction, and just learn if you don't know it. But you're pointing out quite a few people know things, so it's one habit at a time, isn't it? Take one thing on and move forward. This is the time, and I think people have put notes in here, and so we'll keep the chat, and people can have a look and see the notes there and the resources will come in there.
And when it comes to meat and dairy and fish and eggs and stuff like that, there's all schools of thought on that, but basically it's more to do with quality, the quality of that.
Quality and how much you have, whether you have, like you talked about, meat as a feast. I mean, it's perfectly fine to have good quality meat, but if you're having it twice a day, bacon for breakfast and a big dinner in the evening, then that's a different consumption of meat, isn't it? So quality.
Absolutely. And if you look even at our basic diet in the 50s and 60s, it was meat and 2 veg at least, and it was a little bit of meat because it was expensive, you know. So
well, I think they said after the war we were at our healthiest when we had the least and had to forage from all vegetables and couldn't get the meat.
And people grew their own stuff as well. And that dig the garden and walk to the shops. Right. Is that okay if we do a group relaxation? Is that all right with everybody?
I think we're all looking forward to this.
Okay, and I'm going to incorporate the stuff we said this morning that you flagged up and turn it around, but a lot of it has already been answered. So You must prioritize your health. You have a responsibility to do that so you can be more useful to others and not pass anything on. And get the best quality of sleep you can, but get yourself that time to go to sleep and keep active, low level physical exercise. Right, I'm going to do a quick relaxation and then we're just going to cover these. It's going to take about 10 minutes if that's okay.
We'll get everybody on mute except for you. I think everybody's on mute now. Please mute yourself because we're going to leave Jessica unmuted. And you'll tell us what we need to do in terms of sitting or whatever.
Yeah, you just sit yourselves where, however you are comfortable. And if you're sitting down, you can put your feet flat on the floor and just let your hands and arms rest in your lap, because then your body's balanced and you can relax more easily. But whatever suits you. So if you like to take a nice deep breath and exhale. And now second, an even deeper breath. And exhale. And now a third, really deep breath. And as you exhale, just let your eyelids close down and keep them closed until I ask you to open them again. Focus on your breathing. Allow it to remain deep and calm. And from your diaphragm, relaxing more deeply now with each easy breath that you take and with each sounds that you hear, drifting deeper and deeper into calm, drowsy, and peaceful relaxation. Each time you exhale, you can experience a powerful wave of relaxation flowing all across your body from the top of your head, right the way down to the tips of your toes in wave after wave after wave of calm, peaceful, comfortable relaxation. As you easily focus your mind on all of the muscles and nerves in your toes, your feet, and your ankles, and you can allow them to feel very loose, very limp, very comfortable, and very relaxed as your breathing remains deep and calm and from the diaphragm. As you easily allow that feeling to move on up into your calves, your knees, your long thigh muscles, just relaxing, just releasing, just drifting down and letting go. As you easily allow that feeling to move on up into your pelvis, into your abdomen, and into your solar plexus. As you focus your mind on your solar plexus and become aware of a calm, comfortable feeling of relaxation emanating from your solar plexus. As you easily allow that feeling to move on up all across your chest, deep into your shoulders, down into your arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, and way down into your fingertips, relaxing and releasing, just drifting down and letting go all of the muscles and nerves around your neck, all across the back of your neck, the back of your head, the top of your head, and all across your forehead, relaxing and releasing all of the muscles and nerves around your eyes and across your eyelids, all of the muscles and nerves in your jaw and your jaw muscles, relaxing and releasing. And if you'd like to drift even deeper into relaxation now, I'm going to count to 3 and snap my fingers and say the word sleep deeply. As soon as you hear the word sleep deeply, if you choose to do so, you can allow yourself to feel even more deeply relaxed than you are right now. 1, 2, 3, and sleep deeply. Every muscle, every nerve loose and limp and relax. That's excellent. This time you can drift down deeper than you were before, and even deeper than you are right now if you choose to do so. 1, 2, 3, and sleep deeply. Every muscle, every nerve loose, comfortable and relaxed. That's excellent. This final time, if you choose to do so, you can drift down deeper than you are right now, deeper than you've ever been before. 1, 2, 3, and sleep deeply. Go way down now, much deeper than you've ever been before. And as you're drifting deeper into relaxation with each easy breath that you take and with each sound that you hear, you're becoming aware that this is the beginning of the feeling of self-hypnosis. You realize, of course, there's no physical reason why your eyes should feel sealed closed. You understand, or your arms should feel heavy. You understand you simply utilize the creative faculty of your mind, the part of your mind that knows what to do and how to do it. Keeps your heart beating and your lungs breathing. Even if you've ever cut yourself, this part of your mind heals it perfectly, creating all of the new cells without any assistance from your conscious mind. So you can easily understand how simple it is for this part of your mind to create a feeling of complete relaxation in every muscle and nerve in your body, from the top of your head right the way down to the tips of your toes. You are, of course, aware of everything that's happening and everything that's being said, and of course you'll easily remember everything. You're also aware that you're entirely in control of all of your own thoughts and your own faculties at all times. As you're drifting deeper into relaxation, you're becoming aware of how much you value and appreciate your health and your physical body. You recognize and bless your physical vehicle that represents who you are in this world, that presents who you are in this world. You have a strong and powerful desire to treat your body well and take full responsibility so you can be the most value, not only to yourself, but to others. You keep yourself fit, well, and healthful. So you easily find time and value yourself and your health and your well-being, because you understand that's the greatest value you can contribute to others and to society. You easily find time. You easily revert to good habits, wonderful habits. Just gradually, you're gentle with yourself and take each day one step at a time. But each day you find a few minutes for self-care, to take full responsibility for self-care. You allow yourself extra time to sleep deeply, soundly and comfortably, and allow yourself to sleep the whole time until the time that you've chosen to awaken. You recognize that we are designed to spend up to 1/3 of our lives sleeping. It's a divine process. We allow ourselves time to sleep soundly and appropriately. We give plenty of time for our children, families, by taking care of ourselves first, so we feel relaxed, calm, well, and healthful. We prioritize ourselves because that enables us to be the best benefit to everybody who comes within our environment and within our community. We naturally choose foods as we discover which foods make us feel good and make us feel well. We have a gentleness with ourselves and enjoy food and drink which are most healthy and most nutritious for us at any given time. We enjoy a healthy relationship to food, but with a gentleness and acceptance of being strong and fit and healthy and happy, and taking care of ourselves first and demonstrating powerfully self-care to those of us in our families and in our communities, to demonstrate and inspire respectful self-care and self-responsibility. You feel calm and comfortable, and you understand fully that in prioritizing and taking care of yourself, that automatically puts others first. When you're ready to do so, you can begin to come back to your full awareness once again. You can choose to retain the physical feeling of relaxation as you slowly, calmly, easily and gently come on back to your full awareness once again, feeling calm, rested, refreshed and relaxed from the top of your head right the way down to the tips of your toes. You can easily allow your eyelids to open whenever you choose to do so, whilst retaining the physical feeling of relaxation. Eyelids open now. Take a nice deep breath fill up your lungs, have a good stretch. And so you see there's a deep relaxation, and that took literally just a few minutes, 10 minutes. Everybody's got 10 minutes. And one thing I will say about time, you never ever would say, oh, I didn't get time to clean my teeth today. You always find time to clean your teeth, and it takes a few minutes. So you can always find time to spend a few minutes on things that are just as important as cleaning your teeth. I hope that's been useful. It's been lovely to see everybody here, and I hope you've got some use out of it. Do feel free to contact me if you need anything at all. I'm a mine of information, and those of you who know me know I'm a bit obsessed with it all.
That was wonderful, Jessica. I'm in a deep state of beautiful relaxation now, but that was great. And what you've done, we've recorded it all. What we'll do for everybody who's on the call now is we will send out the recording within the next day, but it will go on YouTube shortly. But everybody gets their advance, and they can listen to the data you said again, and they can listen to the relaxation at the end.
Could I just share one tip that I'm doing to protect myself in flu season, apart from all the other stuff I do, and vitamins and minerals and stuff, and the obvious ones like D3 and vitamin C? I'm actually, specifically for flu and respiratory illness, this is me, I'm not recommending it, I'm not qualified, but just this is what I've chosen to do. I'm taking zinc and quercetin and selenium supplements, and they're specific for flus and lungs.
That's very good. Well, you mentioned also apart from lifestyle, environment, and actually that's what I'll be talking about next week, because we're spending so much time at home, and in the future, those of us who are working more at home and having less social life outside the home is increasingly more important, not just in the short term, but more and more. So that's what I'm going to be addressing next Wednesday. So it's quite a nice follow-on.
On that.
Follow on from what we've done today. So we're not all here to applaud, but everybody can go on to unmute and wave or thank you and express our deep appreciation. Thanks for showing up today. And I'm certainly looking forward to watching the recording. So thank you so much. It's absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Jessica. Everybody's waving. That's really great. What a lovely journey we've had today.
Thank you, Gina, as well for hosting it.
You're so welcome. I'm going to stop the recording now.